My name is Juju Sain, and we gather here with heavy hearts to acknowledge the killing of a young Palestinian American whose roots trace back to our own beloved city of Philadelphia. His name was Nasrallah Abu Siyam. He was 19 years old, he was a Philadelphian, and he was killed in cold blood. Nasrallah was shot and killed on his own family's land in Palestine by illegal Israeli settlers who were trespassing on his land. A young American standing on his own property had his life taken away from him. I want everyone in this room and everyone who hears this to visualize standing on your property in your safe space and being harassed by a random person carrying an M16, trying to bully you into giving up your home, your safe space, your livelihood that feeds your family, only to be murdered when you refuse to leave what is legally yours. Before I go any further, we extend our deepest condolences to Nasrallah's family, whom you will hear from shortly, his friends, and everyone who loved him. No family should have to endure the pain of losing a child, especially in this way. Our hearts are with them today. We are here to honor Nasrallah's life, to speak his name, and to demand the truth and justice his family deserves. I want to thank Governor Josh Shapiro for his letters to Attorney General Pam Bondi for an independent investigation into Nasrallah's killing by illegally Israeli settlers. I want to thank the elected officials standing before me and those who can't make it. And I want to thank the diverse coalition that came together, including CAIR-Philadelphia, Not Another Bomb, Friday at Veterans, Family for Ceasefires, If Not Now, When, Rabbis for Prayers for Peace, and many others standing in solidarity. These are steps that need to be taken by every single elected official, individual, and organization. Let me be clear about our call today. No American family should beg for justice. We are calling for accountability and for a full, independent investigation led by the United States of a killing of an American citizen. We urge our elected officials to press the State Department to pursue this investigation and provide transparent briefings to the public and to the family. Nasrallah Abu Siyam was an American. His life mattered. His family deserves answers, and justice must be pursued. With that, I would like to ask for Nasrallah's family to say a few words. First, I'd like to introduce Dr. Abu Siyam, who is a professor at Rutgers and a United Nations journalist. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Jude, for the introduction. Thank you for coming. My name is Abu Siyam. The deceased is related directly to me. He's the son of my cousin, and he's the first cousin of my grandchildren. One of them is Muhammad. And I remember when we went together, and he was riding the horse of Nasrallah. So, what I want to say is, he is not the first nor the last Palestinian Americans to be killed by settlers. He's number 5 killed since February 2022. Since in the last 5 years, 11 Palestinian Americans were murdered. And maybe many of you remember the brutal murder of the most prominent Palestinian journalist, Shireen Abu Akleh. She was, and there was some kind of investigation which ended up with zero conclusion, nothing. And the same thing, we call on the Israeli government to investigate. I mean, I appreciate the State Department mild statement calling for investigation. Of course, they didn't mention his name, and they didn't use the word kill, they used the word death in State Department. And I want to also thank the Council of Philadelphia City Council. I also thank Mayor Shapiro or Governor Shapiro for his statement and for his letter to the Congress. I also want you to know that the UN Secretary General issued a statement sending his condolences to me and to the family, and his deputy also, Amina Muhammad, also issued a strong statement condemning his killing and calling for investigation. So, as I said, he's not the first, he's not the last. And we're talking about the symptoms at violence, not about in general. in general, since October 7, 1,120 Palestinians were killed at the hands of the settlers, the army, the security. That's in the West Bank. We're not talking about Gaza. Gaza, which we want to throw a genocide. I mean, the number of people killed in Gaza as we speak, 72,000 plus, and the number of wounded, 171,000, and 90% of Gaza is completely destroyed. No schools, no hospitals, no universities. 7 universities were destroyed in Gaza. Leave Gaza a little bit further. I spent my life with the UN. I worked for 26 years. I left to teach at Rutgers. I came back to the UN as a journalist. So my field of expertise is international law. And I know, and many of you should know, that settlements are illegal. Occupation is illegal. The mother of all problems is the occupation. When you are occupation, occupiers control us, control our movement, control our food, control our water, control our electricity, control our education, everything under the occupation control. So, since this government came to power in December 2021, with somebody like Ben Rafir and Smotrich, they allowed the settlers to roam into those villages and towns. And they've been attacking Palestinians day in and day out. Just 3 days ago, 2 brothers were killed in the village of Karyut by the settlers. One Palestinian American in Tormos Hayat, they kept beating him by a stick until he died. And yeah, they was, oh, American, we should do something. But I mean, I want you to imagine for 1 second, if he was an Iranian American and he went to Tehran and the Revolutionary Guards killed him. US would declare war. Why, when it comes to Palestinian Americans, then they're okay, we call them, we want them to investigate, and that's it. Why they don't held accountable? Why these settlers who are killing Palestinians day in and day out are let roam freely? Not only they killed Nasrallah on that day, first day of Ramadan, the 18th of February, they also shot 5 others. One of them in the leg. He's still being treated. And they stole over 300 goats. That's the idea. They come to these villages, they steal their goats, they destroy their olive trees, and 3 cases happened in the last 6 months. In one case, 71 trees. In another case, 30 trees were completely destroyed. And in another case, 17. So they steal the goats, they destroy the olive gardens, and they still fear among the Palestinians. Why? Because it's a plan. They want to do ethnic cleansing of the Palestinians. It's a plan to empty the West Bank from the population. They want to make sure that you cannot go to reach your land, you cannot graze your goats, you cannot even be safe in your own town. When I was visiting my hometown, Mukhmas, they came to one of the houses where there is one woman in the 2nd floor. She woke up, she found 5 soldiers in her bedroom, searching everything. She has 2,000 Israeli shekels in a drawer. They put 2,000 shekels under it. And that happens almost every single day. But there are a few villages are being targeted now. Mukhmas, they're the one Tormos Hayat and Ainapur, because these, what they call American villages. There's many of those sons of these and daughters of these villages are in America. So they want to still fear in those young Palestinians who go to study in their own homes and come back to America to finish their college, like what we did, okay? And my children did, and my grandchildren. So that's how they do it. Now, if they still fear in everybody's heart, then they might not come. They might say, oh, if my son wants to go, I say, wait, it's not safe. So that's how it is happening. So it's a plan supported by the army and supported by the government. And to conclude, I want to urge you to stand with justice. If justice is attacked and you stay neutral, then that is treason, I think. And if there is, we have to choose between the power of law or the law of power. We cannot accept that. Settlements are illegal. Resolution 2334 of 2016, ICJ opinion of 9 July 2004, and 19 July 2024 all say settlements are illegal. They should be dismantled. And ICJ, International Court of Justice, asked even the Israeli to dismantle occupation and compensate the Palestinians. Thank you very much.
With that, I'd like to introduce Syed Gayed, another member of Nasrallah's family.
Assalamu alaikum and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Abu Siyam. Thank you all for coming today. Thank you for the city of Philadelphia for passing this resolution. Nasrallah's story is unfortunately one of many hundreds of thousands of stories of young children being taken away from their families by shooting them for just walking around or protecting sheep or just living in their land. The goal of Israel is very clear from the founding of the state, is to remove this population from their native homeland. We had a bunch of European Jewish settlers come from Europe. They want to take over all of Palestine and force them out. They were successful in displacing over 800,000 Palestinians in the early 1900s, and now they want to continue that project and remove everybody. We see what happened in Gaza for the past 2 years, killing children, killing adults, old ladies, injuring. This is Israel. This is where our billions of dollars go to every single year. And us as U.S. citizens, we cannot accept it anymore. This is the U.S.'s genocide, not just Israel's genocide. It could have not happened without U.S. sending billions of dollars in weapons to Israel to kill Palestinians. They are our brothers in humanity, whether they are U.S. citizens, like my cousin Nasrallah Abu Siyam, or whether they are just human beings, brothers and sisters in humanity. This must end. We must stop aiding Israel with our billions of dollars and our technology as well with Amazon and Google. Look up the Nimbus project, billions of dollars, providing technology and surveillance to surveil Palestinians in Gaza and all over Palestine, to kill Palestinians. We have to hold our elected officials accountable. We have to put people in office that represent the U.S. public and population. If you do the surveys, people are more sympathetic to Palestine than Israel. Not because of CNN and Fox, because of social media. And that's why they tried and were successful in buying that TikTok, because they don't want word getting out. Even holding press conferences like this takes a lot of courage, because speaking up, people are losing their job just for speaking out against the crimes that Israel's committed. So we have to continue speaking up and not be intimidated by being threatened to lose your job if you continue to speak about the injustices that Israel is committing. This is lunacy. This is, I don't know what else to call it. We're in 2026, you expect people to live a little bit more civilized. But it's like we're back in 1,000 years ago, where people would just come and pillage a whole village, rape the women, and steal all of their belongings, kick them out, and displace them. It's unbelievable how it's still going on in 2026 and continuously going on. And now Israel is forcing us into another war in Iran, where U.S. soldiers are on the ground dying. This has to stop. We have to boycott, divest, and sanction the state of Israel. And don't let anybody fool you. This is not a war between Muslims and Jews. There's a lot of Jewish people that stand up for Palestine. We have lived in peace in the Holy Land for thousands of years. There was Jews in our Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon his time, in Mecca and Medina. So this is not a Jewish, Muslim, Jewish, Arab problem. This is a colonial settler project, and it must end, and we have a lot. The first thing I think of when I see a calamity is, what can we do about it? Well, the first thing is awareness, like this press conference. I want to thank CAIR, AMP, and all of the organizations for putting this together. The second is holding our political officials accountable, ending the aid to Israel, like we did in South Africa. It is achievable. We need to end this occupation, end the apartheid, putting the pressure, and it will work. Thank you so much, and sorry for taking that.
Founder of West Bank Base and Hack, to summarize the on-the-ground investigation and legal options for the family. Jonathan?
Thank you. I think the family has every right to expect our government to do something about the violence of the settlers. Unfortunately, we cannot wait and we cannot count on our government to do anything. Fortunately, we have the ability to bring civil cases in this country against the settlers and those who support them. Our research, our documentation in the West Bank has shown that there are specific organizations that support the actions of settlers, which are often violative even of Israeli law. And the way they do it, so that the Israeli government can pretend that it is not behind the settlers, is to have people in this country contribute directly to the settlers. There are so-called charitable organizations, 501c3s in this country, that are sending tens of millions of dollars supporting Regavim, supporting Heluna, supporting Yosh security, organizations in Israel, the Hilltop Youth, that go around and beat up and kill, intimidate, and destroy the property, the sheep, the trees, the olive trees of the families. We plan to bring an action, a civil action in this country, which the government cannot stop and which the government cannot prevent, to try to bring a small measure of justice to the Palestinian Americans whose property and lives and homes and lands are being illegally taken by a bunch of criminal settlers supported by so-called charitable organizations in this country that send millions of dollars to support them. So we have to use the law, and we have to put an end to this kind of lawless thuggery that the settlers are doing in the West Bank. Of course, we want the government to act. Of course, we want our government to support and prevent this action against the property and persons of U.S. citizens. But when the government doesn't do it, we are willing to do it, because we need to have justice for Palestinian Americans. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Salam alaikum. My name is Amina Leika Mikanofti. I'm speaking on behalf of the Prayers for Peace Alliance, a grassroots partnership of Palestinian Muslims and Christians and Jews here in the Philadelphia region. We come together across our traditions because our faiths teach a simple truth. Every human life is sacred. And justice and peace must belong to everyone. Today we gather because a young man from our city was killed, Nasrallah Abu Siyam, killed in the West Bank. Nasrallah was only 19 years old. He was the son of Philadelphia and part of the family that is grieving right now across continents. In Jewish tradition, when someone dies, we say, "May his memory be a blessing." That phrase is not only a prayer, it is also a responsibility. To say, "May his memory be a blessing," means that the life that was lost calls us to live differently. To deepen our commitment to justice, to compassion, and to human dignity. At Prayers for Peace Alliance, Palestinians and Jews organize together because we know this to be true. Our futures are intertwined. We gather in faith because we know that there is more that connects us than divides us. We build community because grief must be shared in solidarity, and that must be lived. And we take action because our faith and community call us to stand up for justice. Our partnership is grounded in a commitment to solidarity, full equality, human rights, and dignity for both of our people. From here in Philadelphia, we are working together to end U.S. support for the State of Israel's anti-Palestinian violence, dispossession, and occupation. Today, we stand with Nasrallah's family as they call for the full investigation and accountability for his killing. But we also stand here as neighbors, and as people of faith, and as Philadelphians who believe that justice must apply to everyone. Nasrallah should be alive today. May his memory be a blessing.
I'd like to take a moment. The immediate uncle of Nasrallah is here in the Abu Siyam. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for being here. Yes. I want to recognize Fridays at President Robin is here, David Gibson is here. Thank you so much for joining us. We have a few more speakers, and then we'll move forward with our elected officials who are here and joining us. I'd like to introduce Ahmed, who's the Executive Director of CAIR-Philadelphia. Please say a few words.
Good afternoon, everyone. Nasrallah could have been my brother or my cousin. When I go to Northeast Philadelphia, I know I run into his cousins, his family. When I go to Al-Aqsa Islamic Society here in Philadelphia, I run into his relatives. So he's a son of Philadelphia. He was living in West Bank. He's an American citizen. And yesterday we heard from his uncle, Brother Khalid, who is in the West Bank, who went from here to West Bank to be with the family, to attend the funeral. And he described to us how Nasrallah loved riding horses, and his horse Shams, translated to son in English, has been at unease ever since Nasrallah was murdered. That no one is able to ride him, and that no one is able to calm Shams. So we mourn with Shams, we mourn with everyone. But at the same time, as many other speakers have mentioned, there are actions to be taken, and that is what I want to focus on. The Attorney General of the United States, the State Department, should act, and all of our elected officials here should be raising their voices in the face of this injustice. We are joined by many here. There are others who call privately, the family, but that we ask them to publicly speak up. Because injustice, everywhere is an injustice, and a crime to all, right? And we say that from Philadelphia to Palestine, when this injustice strikes, it strikes all of us. And that our elected officials are responsible, that not only our tax dollars do not feel this injustice, but that they also should be doing everything in their authority to, at the very least, speak with moral clarity against this injustice. We remember Brother Nasrallah. We remember, as Philadelphia, we mourn for him.
With that, I'd like to introduce Rabbi Liebling, who is Rabbis for Ceasefire and GBC Philadelphia.
Shalom, shalom alaikum, peace be unto you. First, my condolences to the family. I'm so sorry. In Jewish tradition, we read a portion of the Torah every week, and this week happens to be that we're reading about the golden calf, about idolatry. And it's very sad that Israel has fallen into idolatry. They have put the value of land above the value of human life. The golden calf happens when Moses, in the story, is receiving the 10 Commandments. And Israel has basically violated probably almost all of the 10 Commandments in what it is doing in Gaza, and now what it's doing on the West Bank and what it's been doing on the West Bank for the last 50 years. It is a violation of Jewish law. It is a violation of international law. It is a violation of human decency, what Israel is doing right now. And we have to call on Israel, we have to account. We have to ask all of our elected officials to take Israel to account. They cannot have a blank check, which is what we have given them. It is time to stop the check. It is time to call them to accountability. As a rabbi, it is horrific to me to see what Israel is doing, how it is violating every norm of Jewish law, how it is violating every lesson of Jewish history. My parents were Holocaust survivors. I'm appalled about what Israel is doing right now. And I'd like to ask all of you to join with me and call for Israel's accountability by contacting all of our elected officials. Thank you.
With that, I'd like to introduce Reverend Jay Bergen from Germantown Mennonite Church. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. It feels like the word condolence is inadequate for a loss such as this, a loss piled on top of all of the other losses, all of the other griefs that so many people in this room continue to bear in this moment. My name is Reverend Jay Bergen. I'm the pastor at Germantown Mennonite Church in the Germantown neighborhood. And I'm a member of Mennonite Action, which has been organizing for a ceasefire, an actual, real ceasefire for the last 2.5 years, and for an end to the ongoing genocide in Gaza. And I'm here today fundamentally as a follower of Jesus, which means to me that I'm a follower of someone who proclaimed something that was incredibly simple and yet also incredibly radical. The idea that every human being is equal. The idea that every human being has value, and their value does not come from their nationality or where they live or what God they follow. Nasrallah's life is not worth less or more because he was Palestinian. His life was not worth more or less because he's a U.S. citizen. His life has value because he was made in the image of God, because he bore the image of God in his living. And in his death, we mourn him and we remember him as we would any other child of God anywhere else on earth. And so I'm here not upset because another young person from Philadelphia was murdered, because my heart breaks every time a young person from Philadelphia is murdered, whether it is in this city or anywhere in the world. My heart breaks because we, as a society, as a nation, have grown too accustomed to letting our tax dollars, to letting our religion be weaponized to murder other children of God, whether that be in Iran, whether that be in Palestine, whether that be here in our own city. I know that my tax dollars helped produce the bullets that ultimately killed Nasrallah. I know that my religion has been weaponized to actually create the conditions under which he was murdered. As much as we talk about Israel as a Jewish nation, the genocide in Gaza and the murder of people in the West Bank and the theft of land and of olive trees, as we've heard, cannot happen without the massive support of U.S. Christians, without Christian supremacy being running rampant in this country and in this government. And for me, that flies in the face of what it means to be a follower of Jesus. what it means to be the follower of someone who was ultimately murdered by an occupying military force for his resistance. And it flies in the face of what it means to be a follower of Jesus, the one who not only was murdered by the state, but ultimately was resurrected. Ultimately, we serve a God of life. And while Nasrallah is not here today, he will not break fast tonight. He does not get to celebrate and be with his family. It is our duty, all of us here, and all of us who claim to follow God, whatever name we may call God, it is our duty to continue to lift up his memory and to continue to work to create the conditions for all people to thrive. If we follow, if we serve, if we worship a God of life, then we must create the conditions so that every Palestinian, regardless of what their citizenship papers say, so that every person, regardless of what their papers say, every person can thrive and live in safety and peace. Thank you all.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you all for everybody who is here today. And thank you to CAIR-Philadelphia for making sure this story is told widely and loudly. Because last week, Philadelphia lost one of its own. 19-year-old Nasrallah Abu Siyam was a Palestinian-American, a U.S. citizen, born and raised in our city. Last week, he was killed in the occupied West Bank. He was 19. He was not a soldier. He was not engaged in combat. He was trying to protect his family's sheep when the violence erupted. According to reports, that violence included tear gas, sound grenades, live ammunition, and physical force. In that chaos, Nasrallah's life was stolen from him, from his family, from his community. And now all of us are grieving not only the loss of a soul, but the silence surrounding his death. When an American citizen is killed abroad, there must be accountability and answers for the people who continue their memory. Violence without accountability only breeds more violence. Nasrallah Abu Siyam's death is more than a headline and a press conference and a news clip. It's the stories we hear today. It's the person his family loved. Last year, 240 Palestinians were killed by Israeli forces and settlers. 17 Israelis were killed by Palestinians, 6 of whom were soldiers. These wars are spilling into the lives of those who claim to protect. Donald Trump is doing the same thing right now by putting American people on the line as he starts another poorly thought out, unpopular war, this time with Iran. As the only Jewish member of Philadelphia City Council, it brings me great pain to see this hate and abuse done at the hands of the Israeli government. I was proud to introduce a resolution with my colleague, Councilmember O'Rourke, today, that honored Nasrallah's life, spoke to his community, and also called on the U.S. government for a full investigation. Because today we are demanding accountability for those responsible for his death. The U.S. State Department and the Department of Justice must conduct a full investigation and pursue justice for this Philadelphian. The Block the Bombs Act will ensure that U.S. military aid is conditioned on human rights protections, and we need that act supported to ensure more accountability and fewer lives lost. We demand accountability so that no other family, here or abroad, has to stand where this family stands now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to recognize
again, my name is Nikhil Saval. I'm proud to represent the people, communities, and lands in Pennsylvania's 1st Senatorial District. As chair of the Senate's Philadelphia delegation, I hold seriously my responsibility to all residents of this city. And I'm honored to be standing here with fellow elected officials, clergy, advocates, and the family of Nasrallah Abu Siyam, whose murder has torn a hole not just in the fabric of his community, but in that of our city. The murder of a loved one is something no family should have to endure. In the wake of Nasrallah's death, his family's grief has been compounded many times over by the lack of transparency, the absence of accountability, and the silence of so many in our country who should be leading in the condemnation of this violence, ethnic cleansing, and genocide, and the demands for its cessation. The ongoing airspace closures due to the United States' illegal, catastrophic war with Iran have prevented many of Nasrallah's loved ones from traveling back. The violence that claimed Nasrallah's life is unacceptable. Yet we know that in the past year alone, as we have been heard, settler violence in the West Bank has forced hundreds of Palestinian families across the West Bank to suffer not just the deaths of their loved ones, but the violent displacement of their families and the loss of their homes. On behalf of Nasrallah and his family, I add my voice to the growing chorus of elected officials who have called for an investigation into the circumstances of his death. And I join with everyone here today in condemning the occupation, in condemning apartheid, in condemning ethnic cleansing and genocide. To all who loved Nasrallah, please know that Philadelphia grieves with you. You are not alone. To people throughout our region and abroad who are mourning the deaths of their loved ones because of settler violence, because of war, please know that your commitment to a world of health and safety and care for all remains steadfast priorities. As Americans, we can honor Nasrallah's life and his family's love by doing the difficult, vital work of seeking enduring peace. Thank you so much. It's an honor to be here.
Thank you, Senator. Our last speaker before we go into closing, Representative Chris Rapp.
I'm State Representative Chris Rabb. I represent the 200th Legislative District of Pennsylvania, covering 4 neighborhoods in Northwest Philadelphia. But I'm here not so much as an elected official on the state level, not as a public servant, not as a Muslim or Christian or Jew. I'm showing up as a father of a 19-year-old son, a Muslim. I feel your pain, and I'm honored and pained to join all of you in grieving in community and solidarity. I'm showing up because in the worst times, that's what we must do. We must show up for each other. We must show up for each other. When it's hard, when it's dangerous, when it's not politically expedient, and we must say the words that too many people are afraid of. We must acknowledge the injustices, the structural and systemic injustices that have allowed for this to happen over and over and over again. Showing up matters, particularly for those of us who are in elective office, who seek to serve for all the right reasons. Showing up matters. That's why I'm here. It matters you are not alone. And it doesn't matter that he was a U.S. citizen. It doesn't matter all of those things. There is no hierarchy of human rights. And we must be reminded of that. We shouldn't have to say that. We shouldn't have to say that, but because for all the reasons that have been explained beforehand, this is where we are in this moment. We must condemn these atrocities and the systems that produce it and our complicity as a nation in facilitating the genocide, the ethnic cleansing, the occupation, and for all those who cry out for justice regarding the occupation in Minneapolis. We must acknowledge occupation must be dissolved everywhere. Because unless until I'm free, you're not free, and vice versa. So let's continue to stand up for each other in these moments and beyond. My deepest condolences.
Thank you, Representative Rock. So as we close out, there's a few things that we're asking each and every single one of us in this room and everyone that hears this, is please contact your legislators. Please. If everyone contacts their legislators and applies that pressure, we are not asking for special treatment. We are not asking for anything special. We are just asking for an independent investigation from our State Department for an American citizen. Our basic right. And so please contact your legislators. Next, CAIR, if you go to CAIR.com, some of the family that is traveling back are unable to travel back due to travel restrictions, but we will be greeting them when they do arrive back in the coming week. So please stay tuned and visit CAIR.com, PACAIR.com. Is that right, Ahmed? Say that again? PA.CAIR.com. And so for any updates, please refer to that. If we're ready for questions, if we're press, do you guys have any questions for the family or any one of our speakers?
A question for the attorney. Can you tell us more about the civil action that's being taken and who are the named defendants in the civil action?
Yes, we are doing a thorough research about all the 501c3s that are supporting the settlers directly. It is amazing that they are so blatant on their websites. They say that they are actually sending what they call preventive security assistance to the Friends of the Beit El Yeshiva, to the Shiloh settlement near there, to Regavim, which provides thermal drones to monitor the Palestinians, and they even send equipment for the settlers to attack the Palestinians. So we have obtained public information, and we will also be bringing some questions and depositions to the 501c3s that are violating, by the way, U.S. law as well as Israeli law in supporting these settlements. One Israel Fund is one of the big funding organizations that send money directly to settlers in the Benjamin region. That's what they call the region where the 5 villages are located.
Thank you. Yes.
This is a question for Councilmember Landau. You said the resolution was introduced today. I'm assuming it wasn't voted on yet? Or? It was. I'm sorry.
And it was passed.
It's, yeah, it was passed today. It was just a privilege resolution, so you can introduce it and have it passed on the exact same day. It was unanimous.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay. Thank you everyone for joining us. Please visit pa.care.com and contact your legislators. Thank you. Thank you.